The phone vibrated on Emma Carter's kitchen counter just as the sun slipped behind the buildings outside her apartment window. She didn't look at it right away. She already knew what it was: another message, another invitation, another small reminder that life was still moving, even if she felt stuck. She had promised herself not to care anymore. Emma was 32, living in Toronto, working a steady job she didn't love but didn't hate either. Her days were quiet. Too quiet. Friends were getting married, moving away, building families. Emma smiled for them, showed up to celebrations, and went home alone. That evening, the silence felt heavier than usual. When she finally checked her phone, she frowned in surprise. It wasn't one message. It was 10. 10 different names. 10 different tones. Some were casual. Some nervous. Some confident. One was handwritten and photographed, slipped under her door earlier that afternoon. Coffee tomorrow? Dinner this weekend? Long walk by the lake? Just want to talk. Emma sat down slowly. She hadn't planned this. She wasn't dating seriously. She wasn't even sure she believed in love the way she used to. But somehow, without trying, she had become the center of something she didn't expect. It felt strange. Almost unreal. Her best friend Lily had joked earlier that week, "You overthink everything. Just say yes for once. Say yes and see what happens." Emma had laughed then. Now, alone in her kitchen, the words came back to her with weight. She scrolled through the messages again. None of them were bad people. Some she barely knew. Others had history. All of them felt like doors standing open. Her chest tightened. Emma had spent years saying no, to dates, to risks, to feelings. No because she was tired. No because she didn't want to get hurt again. No because it felt safer to wait than to try. But waiting hadn't brought her anything except loneliness. She stood up, poured herself a glass of water, and leaned against the counter. Her reflection in the dark window looked older than she felt. Tired, but hopeful in a way she didn't quite understand. "What's the worst that could happen?" she whispered. One by one, she typed her replies. Yes, coffee sounds nice. Yes, dinner could be fun. Yes, I'd like that. Yes. Each message sent faster than the last. Her hands moved before her mind could catch up. Her heart beat harder with every tap of the screen. When she sent the final yes, she froze. The apartment felt different now. Too quiet again, but charged, like the air before a storm. Emma sat back down, suddenly unsure if she had done something brave or reckless. Her phone buzzed almost immediately. Smiles. Relief. Excitement. Emma turned it face down. She thought she would feel powerful. Instead, she felt exposed. Memories surfaced without warning. The last relationship that had ended slowly, painfully. The night she waited for messages that never came. The way she promised herself she wouldn't open her heart so easily again. Saying yes felt like breaking that promise. Later that night, there was a knock at her door. She opened it to find no one there, just a folded piece of paper on the floor. She picked it up. It was short. Simple. Honest. "I don't know if you'll say yes, but I hope you do. No name. No pressure." Emma sat on the floor, her back against the door, holding the note like it meant more than it should. Her throat tightened, and she laughed softly at herself. 10 yes. 10 chances. 10 unknown paths. She didn't know why she had done it. Maybe she was tired of being careful. Maybe she wanted proof that she was still wanted. Or maybe, deep down, she was hoping that one of those yes would lead to something real. As she turned off the lights and crawled into bed, her mind raced with faces she hadn't even met yet. Voices she hadn't heard. Stories that hadn't begun. Emma stared at the ceiling, wide awake. She didn't know it yet, but this was the moment everything shifted. One choice. One night. One decision she could never take back. And somewhere among those 10 yes, her life was already starting to change. The first date happened on a Tuesday morning. Emma sat across from Mark in a small cafe near the waterfront. He spoke softly, asked careful questions, and listened without checking his phone. She noticed how calm she felt around him. No pressure. No rush. When they said goodbye, he smiled and said he hoped to see her again. Emma walked away thinking, that wasn't hard. The next evening was different. Julian met her outside a quiet restaurant downtown. He opened doors, teased her lightly, and spoke with confidence. He remembered things she had written in one message days earlier. Emma laughed more than she expected. When he touched her arm to make a point, her heart skipped. It felt exciting. Almost dangerous. By the end of the week, her calendar was full. There was Aaron, who talked about travel and dreams but avoided deep questions. There was Lucas, thoughtful and shy, who blushed when she smiled. There was Ben, loud and warm, who made every moment feel like a story. Each meeting left something behind. A feeling. A question. A spark. Emma started waking up early, checking her phone before her alarm. Messages waited for her every morning. Good luck today. Hope you slept well. Thinking of you. She hadn't felt this wanted in years. Then there was Noah. They met at a quiet park in Chicago during a work trip. The city felt smaller with him beside her. They had known each other in college, once close, once almost something more. Time had changed them, but not completely. When he laughed, it felt familiar. Too familiar. Walking beside him, Emma felt the weight of the past pressing against the present. She wondered what might have happened if life had gone differently. The thought stayed with her long after she flew home. By the 7th meeting, Emma felt split into pieces. She liked the attention. She liked being seen. But she also felt tired. Every conversation pulled her in a different direction. Every smile carried expectation. And then there was Daniel. They met for coffee on a quiet afternoon. No planning. No build-up. Just two people sitting across from each other. He didn't try to impress her. He didn't fill the silence. He asked about her childhood, her fears, the things that made her feel small and the things that made her brave. Emma surprised herself by answering honestly. When he smiled, it wasn't wide or flashy. It was gentle. Steady. Safe. As they walked outside, neither rushed to leave. The street felt warmer. The city noise faded. For a moment, it felt like the rest of the world had paused. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She replayed moments from every meeting. Laughter. Silence. Touches that meant nothing and glances that meant too much. By the time the 9th and 10th dates arrived, Emma moved through them like someone watching from a distance. She was present, kind, engaged, but something had shifted. Her heart was already leaning. One evening, she stood in front of her mirror, phone in hand, and finally admitted the truth. She didn't want 10 stories. She wanted one that felt real. The realization scared her. Choosing meant closing doors. It meant risk. It meant the chance of getting hurt again. But staying where she was, balanced between possibilities, felt worse. Emma sat on her couch, the city lights glowing outside her window, and made a quiet promise to herself. She would stop hiding behind options. She would listen to what her heart had been trying to say all along. Somewhere between 10 conversations and countless messages, she had found clarity. And now, with her heart full and uncertain, she knew the next step would be the hardest. Because knowing what you want is easy. Letting go of everything else is not. Emma's apartment felt emptier than ever that Friday evening. She stared at her phone, the messages from the last few days blinking back at her. She had spent weeks saying yes, meeting people, laughing, sharing moments. Now, she had to undo it all. She had to tell them the truth. She couldn't keep seeing everyone, couldn't spread her heart thin anymore. Her thumb hovered over the screen. Erin was first. She typed slowly, carefully choosing words that would be kind but honest. I've realized I need to focus on one connection. I hope you understand. She sent it and immediately felt a pang of guilt. Then Lucas. Then Ben. Each message carried the same weight. Gentle, apologetic, truthful. Each sent with a tight knot in her stomach, knowing she was breaking hearts even as she tried to protect them. Some replies were understanding, kind. Some never came. Emma felt the tension grow with each passing hour. It was harder than she expected to face the consequences of her yes. And then there was Daniel. She hadn't wanted it to come to this, not with him. With Daniel, everything had felt simple, natural, like she was just herself and it was enough. But the truth couldn't be ignored. She owed him honesty, even if it hurt both of them. They agreed to meet at a quiet park near her apartment. The leaves had turned golden, and the air carried the faint chill of early autumn. Emma arrived early, pacing slightly, hands trembling. She saw him walking up, calm, with his usual gentle smile. "Hi," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "Hi," he replied. "You sounded serious on the phone. What's going on?" Emma took a deep breath. She told him everything, the 10 yes, the confusion, the dates, the feelings that didn't belong to him or anyone else. She spoke quickly, afraid that if she paused, she might change her mind or start lying. She explained that she had realized she wanted something real, something that went beyond fleeting connections, but she wasn't sure if it could be him. Daniel listened without interruption. His expression was calm, unreadable, but Emma could feel the weight behind his gaze. When she finished, she expected anger, frustration, disappointment. Instead, he said softly, "Thank you for telling me the truth." Emma blinked, surprised. "But," he continued, his voice low and steady, "I can't be just one option. I can't wait while you figure out everything else." Her heart sank. She had feared this. She had wanted him, needed him, and now she realized she might have lost him for good. The rest of their meeting passed in quiet. They walked through the park without speaking much, just the crunch of leaves beneath their feet filling the space. The air was crisp, almost painful in its clarity. Emma wanted to reach for him, to grab the chance she had been dreaming of, but she didn't. The words "I can't" kept echoing in her mind. By the time they parted, the sky was fading into twilight. Emma walked home slowly, feeling the weight of every choice she had made. 10 yes had led her here, to this quiet heartbreak, to the realization that honesty didn't always bring comfort. Sometimes, it brought loss. That night, Emma sat on her bed, phone silent, lights dim. She traced the edge of the handwritten note she had found weeks ago and thought about every person she had met, every laugh, every moment of connection. None of it was meaningless, but it felt like pieces of her heart had scattered across the city, leaving her unsure which ones she could gather back. She cried softly, not just for Daniel, but for herself, for the woman who had dared to say yes to everything, only to find that yes could be heavy, painful, and irreversible. Yet, even in that sadness, a small spark remained. A spark that whispered she had tried, that she had opened herself, and that maybe, just maybe, there was still a chance to set things right. Emma didn't know what tomorrow would bring. She didn't know if Daniel would come back or if she had lost him forever. All she knew was that she had faced the truth, and now she had to live with it. The city outside her window was quiet, lights glowing softly, and for the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to breathe. Heartbreak hurt, yes, but it also reminded her she was still alive, still capable of loving, still capable of change. And somewhere deep inside, she knew this wasn't the end. It was just the part where everything got harder before it got real. Weeks passed, and the quiet in Emma's apartment felt heavier than ever. The city moved on outside her window, lights flickering in the distance, but inside, she carried the weight of her choices. She had let go of 10 possibilities, said goodbye to laughter, conversations, and small sparks that had filled her days. She thought she was ready for closure, but instead, she felt hollow. Then her phone buzzed. Her heart skipped. She hadn't expected anyone to reach out again, not Daniel, not anyone. She hesitated before unlocking it. The screen showed his name. Simple, unassuming. No long explanation, no dramatic confession, just a message. "Can we talk?" Emma's breath caught. She stared at it for a long moment. The rational part of her wanted to ignore it, to stay safe in the quiet she had built. But the part of her that had felt alive with every smile, every glance, every conversation, the part she had tried to protect but couldn't, felt a rush of hope. She typed back, keeping it short. Yes. They agreed to meet at the small cafe where they had first connected. The one where nothing had been complicated, where time had seemed to slow, where she had felt a quiet warmth she hadn't known she missed. When Emma arrived, Daniel was already there, sitting at a corner table, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee. He looked up, and his calm, steady gaze met hers. There was no judgment, no anger, just recognition, as if he had been waiting, patient, for something real. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi," he replied. The silence that followed was comfortable, not awkward. Not rushed. Emma realized how rare that felt. She spoke first, the words tumbling out. She told him about the past weeks, the 10 yes, the goodbyes, the confusion, the heartbreak. She admitted her fears, of choosing wrong, of losing herself, of never finding someone who truly saw her. Her voice shook sometimes, but she didn't stop. Daniel listened, leaning back, letting her words fill the space between them. When she paused, he said quietly, "I wanted to wait. Not because I doubted you, but because I wanted this to be honest. Not forced. Not rushed." Emma's chest tightened. She had imagined this moment so many times, but never with such calm, such patience, such clarity. "I don't know if I'm ready to fix everything," she admitted, "but I do know that I don't want to let go of this, you, me, without trying." He smiled faintly, a warmth that didn't need words. "Neither do I." They spoke for hours, not about rules, not about lists, not about what had gone wrong. They spoke about what mattered, their fears, their hopes, the moments that made them feel alive. Emma realized how much she had been holding back, how much she had needed someone who would see her fully, not just in pieces. The sun slipped down behind the buildings, and the cafe grew quiet. Emma felt lighter than she had in weeks. Not everything was fixed. Not every doubt gone. But the tension in her chest had eased. When they finally walked outside, the city air felt different. Crisp, real, full of possibility. They didn't rush to hold hands, didn't speak about what came next. But they walked together, side by side, matching steps, hearts slowly aligning. That night, Emma lay in bed, the city lights shimmering against her window. For the first time in a long time, she smiled without guilt or fear. Saying yes to 10 had led her here, to heartbreak, to loss, to clarity, to something honest and unplanned. Everything had changed, yes, but not in the way she had feared. She realized something important. Life didn't always give you a straight path. Sometimes it scattered choices, challenges, and mistakes along the way. But if you paid attention, if you listened, if you trusted the quiet voice inside, you could find what mattered most. Emma finally understood that saying yes to everything hadn't ruined her, it had opened her eyes. And now, holding on to hope, letting herself feel, letting herself trust, she was ready to see where this new path would lead. Everything had shifted. Her heart was still cautious, still learning, but it beat with a new rhythm. A rhythm that said, "This is real, this is possible, this is worth it." And for the first time in weeks, she felt alive. The night was quiet, the city lights twinkled, and Emma closed her eyes, knowing that sometimes everything has to fall apart a little, before it finally falls into place.